Thank you for clicking on this Fun with Pete and Sherry video. I'm your host, Mr. Julian, and I am coming to you today from my hotel in Jaco, Costa Rica. And I'm going to be reviewing three scotches. Scotches which, because I'm traveling, I picked up, and these are the scotches that you get at the international markets, duty-free. These are Macallan's 1, 2, and 3 level. Amber, the Sienna, and the Ruby. There's also the Oscura, which regrettably was not in my budget at about $600 a bottle. I'm going to try to keep this review short because, and it may be a little lower resolution, so I can possibly upload it using the local wireless. If not, it will be another 10 days or so before I get back to the States. And I am, of course, enjoying life as I always do. I'm not actually on vacation. I'm working. This is my. This is just the way I live my life. Being a, we call it a freelance columnist. No one cares where I am as long as I get my stories in on time. So let's start with the Amber. I think we could say there's a little background on Macallan. It's been said for years that Macallan's going all no age statement, and I sort of feel like maybe people are getting the wrong story because that's just not happening. Macallan has got a few no age statement expressions out in Virginia where I am. It's also got its double cask now, which is no age statement, and which is pretty good, by the way. And it's also got the same expression it's always had. It's got its 12 years, it's got its 18 year, it's got its 25 year. It's sometimes difficult to get a hold of the 18 year in Virginia, even though the price has gone up considerably in just the 5 years or so that I've been paying attention to Scotch. It's gone from about $150 to about $225. Now, these are roughly going to be equivalent. These are the Amber is going to be roughly equivalent to the 12, the Sienna roughly to the 8. But roughly, what should I say? I guess really the Ruby is roughly equivalent to the 18, and the Sienna roughly equivalent to the 12. So the Amber is sort of not really equivalent to anything. At about coming in at about $60, it's going to be quite a bit cheaper than you would generally get even the 12 year. So let's take a look at these. By the way, all of these Macallans are 100% sherry cask matured. There is none of the bourbon cask maturation that you're seeing in Macallan's fine oak series. So this is more of the traditional way that Macallan does things. And also notice these are very lovely colors on this, ranging from the sort of prune yellow to this lovely, really it's the Sienna that I would describe as amber. And then up to the Ruby, which is, if not ruby, at least rose red in color. Really an incredibly reddish whiskey, and certainly more reddish, at least, than the Macallan 18, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's better. All of these say they are from sherry casks from Jerez, Spain, and that may lead you to believe that they're all using European oak, but that's not necessarily the case because even the sherry makers of Jerez, Spain don't have enough European oak. So if it's the same story as the Macallan 12 year and 18 year and so forth, that means they're using a mix of American oak and European oak, even though they are all ex-sherry barrels. So it's a little confusing there. And so what's happening, since we don't have an age statement, what's happening as we go up the scale? Two things. Likely we are getting more aged whiskeys coming into the mix, and probably a higher percentage of the first fill sherry casks. They're going to be a mix of first fill and refill in all levels. And possibly a mix of more European oak to impart, which is going to impart a bit more of the deeper, richer red fruit flavors than the American oak. So let's start with the amber. There's a beautiful smell at the top of the bottle. Lovely, nutty little marzipan. And that is really intense on the nose. Marzipan. And a little bit more of the fruitier, the raisiny note behind that. All right, so let's give the amber the final test. It's nice and mellow. It does not overwhelm with red fruit flavors. More of the it does have more vanilla and caramel, a hint of molasses. So you can tell this is a sherried Scotch. It doesn't really burst with any of the tart red fruit flavors. On the other hand, just taken for what it is, this is a pretty tasty Scotch. And where you might think as their lowest level entry and as a no age statement, you'd be tasting the youth on this. That's not really the case. This is this is a smooth whiskey. And really quite lovely. Now, if I were buying this back home for a single malt, I would take this over like a Glenlivet 12-year-old, but it's not really so complex that I would choose to drink it as my around the house whiskey. You know, it's similar in many ways to Glenfiddich. And I'm going to give it an 8.4. Okay, moving up the scale, let's see what we have in a Sienna. By the way, I paid about $60, $90, $180 for these. Price is not factored in when I give you a score. Okay, now there is a little bit more red fruit to be sure on the nose. Date and raisin. Pumpkin pie. All right, Sienna, final test. Sienna has some added richness with the red fruits. I'm not really getting anything in the higher ranges. None of the strawberry that you get in like a Macallan 12-year-old. This is more subdued. Caramel and vanilla dominate on the entry, and then raisin comes in on the finish. In some ways, I kind of like the amber better than the Sienna. This has added something, but it's also lost something. There's a punchy playfulness in the amber that I really like quite a bit, and Sienna, though perhaps a bit more complex, does not really develop or change that much, and its finish is not really that any longer than the ambers. Now let's try Ruby. From that color, I would expect this to be a very interesting whiskey. And from what the price I paid for it, I would expect it to be a pretty interesting whiskey. So let's see what happens here. That smells like a sherry whiskey. Yeah, so here that fruitcake, pumpkin pie with spices, little hints of clove, the punchier, or the more intense sherry notes coming in that you get from the real sherry monsters. This should, from that color and from the price I paid for it, be a real sherry monster. And hints of molasses, maybe here finally a hint of that strawberry as well. All right, Ruby, final test. That is a smooth, drinkable whiskey. There's just no doubt about that. It does have some deeper flavors, but there's also I'm not wild about where this goes, or rather where it doesn't go. Let's give this another try. I like to notice my whiskey after it's already in my mouth. A little bit of that strawberry, like I said, not much. This is actually not as good as the last bottle of Ruby I had. Dark and deep. And smooth, but not lively. It's not only missing a sweetness, it has got a little bit of something that it shouldn't have. At least in this particular bottle, there's that rough, little bit of that rough, dregsy aftertaste. That you get sometimes in Macallan 12-year-old. So this bottle is a misfire. I give it a 7. And I'm going to cut it short there, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.